Well, it really is a very beautiful U.S. Capitol building. The man who submitted the original design was Dr. William Thornton. Very interesting. He was an amateur architect, a medical doctor living in the Caribbean. And in 1792, he submitted the winning design. President Washington was very charmed by it. And so here you go. And what I think is so fascinating about the Capitol is not only is it a beautiful work of monumental Roman architecture, it also expresses the power and the glory that the Roman architects of the 2nd century were trying to express with the power and the glory of Rome. What I think is interesting is this shows us that at the outset of our constitutional republic, on the one hand, you have Thomas Jefferson saying that government is best which governs least. And then you have James Madison, the author of our Constitution, talking about the strict need to limit the power of the state. He often, at the Constitutional Convention, made references to imperial Rome as precisely what we don't want to be. On the subject of warfare, he specifically said at the Constitutional Convention, war is often used as a means of distracting the citizenry from the problems that we're having at home. I think he said among the Romans it was a pretext to excite a war abroad whenever a revolt at home was apprehended. And yet when we get to building the Capitol, when Pierre L'Enfant lays out his design for Washington, D.C., it expresses something like the power and the glory of the Roman Imperium. What are we impressed by, we the people, when we visit this? This state, this central authority in Washington, D.C., is something of which we are in awe. So straight away we're getting away from Jefferson and Madison's vision of a highly limited government, and we're getting to turning to government as this all-powerful, omnipotent thing that we should stand in awe of it, and we should even hold feelings of reverence verging on worship. I think the problem begins already in the early 19th century. The first major literary expression of protest to how the U.S. state was developing was Henry David Thoreau's Civil Disobedience. He was specifically protesting the Mexican War. As he wrote in Civil Disobedience, the war is the product of a small group of powerful and selfish men who were pursuing their own interests. They wanted to extend slavery. And he said they want to start up something like the old Roman Empire in order to expand their influence, their wealth, their power, and their glory. So he protested it by not paying his taxes. It would seem that he didn't make very much money. I think he spent one night in jail, and I think his aunt bailed him out or something. But civil disobedience is a great literary expression of an idea that I have picked up with my latest book, Mind Viruses, which is the state has become, I think it was probably best expressed by a French liberal philosopher named Frédéric Bastiat, who described the state as something like a racketeering organization where the rich and the powerful get in league with central state government in order to, in effect, fleece the republic. That sounds like a rather bold, perhaps even exaggerated thing to say, but I don't think Bastiat was that far off base. Now, why do we the people play along with this abandonment of these Jeffersonian principles of limited government and play along with this all-powerful state? The way that this is done is by raising the specter every couple of years, now it's about every year, of some grave mortal threat. Something is coming for us. It's whether it be Islamic terrorism or Saddam Hussein's weapons of mass destruction or financial collapse, climate change, resurgent racism, gender dysphoria. There's always some mortal threat to national security, public health, public safety, and we the people are presented with this monster that's coming for us. And what are we to do? We are to entrust the state and its particular friends who have established themselves in various industries, whether it be, as Eisenhower warned, the military-industrial complex. It could be the biopharmaceutical complex with its new messenger RNA vaccines. It could be Black Lives Matter is going to somehow cure us of our systemic racism. There's always some well-organized interest group that stands in a position to provide a so-called countermeasure, and in return, money from the state is transferred to these interests, thereby greatly enriching them, thereby creating an incentive for yet another crisis. You begin to get the feeling that the moment any of these problems are solved, like climate change or systemic racism or gender dysphoria, these interests would be out of business. So there's a built-in perverse incentive to keep this whole crisis going. And if the crisis can no longer be sustained, we're going to have to find another mortal threat. Hence, we go straight from the COVID-19 pandemic to about a week later, here we go with Russia and Ukraine. So there's always something that our attention is being drawn to that is a great emergency and a great crisis. What I have endeavored to do with my new book, Mind Viruses, is show how we are being manipulated, show the psychological mechanisms whereby, in a very collective, sort of contagious way, we become convinced that indeed the world is ending once again, and we all need to throw our support behind the purported solution. And then conversely, anybody who raises their hand and says, no, wait a minute, this doesn't sound altogether reasonable to me, we're then compelled to scapegoat, to impugn, and harass and ultimately persecute anyone who questions the countermeasure. So my ultimate objective with the book is to lay out how this all works, the anatomy of this, so to speak, to immunize our minds against the next mind virus. Now, it's very apt that we're here in front of the Capitol. You will notice that the flags are flying at half-mast. That is for 2 fallen service members and our latest war in the Middle East against Iran. One of the things that you notice as you meditate on the Iranian war is the script is almost identical to the script that we were told with the Iraq war, that these crazy mullahs are just like Saddam Hussein. They've developed weapons of mass destruction. They hate our freedom. They want to kill us all, kill the Israelis, kill the Americans, because they hate our freedom, they hate our way of life. This was the script that was presented to us to get us to go to war against Iraq, and now 25 years later, we've got the same script again. So this is a theme that you see throughout the last 25 years of history. It's the same script. The faces change. The purported threat could be a virus, it could be the climate, it could be racism, but the basic script is the same. There's a mortal threat. We have to bind together. We have to show our support for the heroic people who are going to vanquish the threat. And at the end, vast sums of money, tens of billions, even trillions, are then going to be transferred to these various special interests. In the final analysis, I think what we start to recognize is, as beautiful as the U.S. Capitol building is, we need to stop looking to the state to solve all of our problems. No one is going to save us in this town. We have to go back to Madison and Jefferson's vision of limited government. We, the people, the prudent adult citizens who can take care of ourselves. We don't need the state and its endless wars and its endless, ever-growing debt. If you found my talk here overlooking the U.S. Capitol interesting, go to my website, Mind Virus's John Leake. That's JOHNLEAKE.com. Check out the website. Check out the brilliant book trailer with an exposition of a lot of the story. And order the book on Amazon. Help us to make it a bestseller.